Raiders! It's Raiders Fan Radio, a podcast by Raiders fans for Raiders fans who are the only fans that matter. That's right, Murf and Sonny from the Dago Dungeon. You got it right here, live.
Touchdown! Kenny Stabler goes all the way.
We miss you, we love you, and we'll see you in the Hall of Fame.
When you have great coaches, then after you have great coaches, you get great players. You have a great organization, and you tell them one thing. Just win, baby. Well, I love this team. I think this team can win. I think this team can win.
Well, at least you do, Al, because after the first two games of the preseason, people are starting to have questions. Welcome in to episode number 43 of Raiders Fan Radio. I am your host, Sonny Dago. With me in my headphones is my cousin. I'm so blessed to get to do this show with my cousin, Murf. Murf, how are you?
Sonny, I'm doing fantastic. We are less than 24 hours from the full-blown solar eclipse flying high over Middle Tennessee, and I'm starting to freak out, man.
Yeah, this may be the last episode we're able to record. Up here in Oregon, they've been warning us to stay off the roads, and virtually the roads are spotlessly clean. Nobody's driving anywhere because everybody's freaked out. And so my brother-in-law usually has a 2.5-hour commute home from work. It took him an hour and 15 minutes because nobody's on the roads.
That's beautiful. Hey, how funny is it that we live in completely separate parts of the country, yet the friggin' path of the eclipse is going right over your house and right over mine? It's like we're cosmically linked, man.
Sun's pretty big there, Murph.
Oh. What about the moon? What about the space rock, though, man? It's not very big.
Well, it's pretty big too.
Do you got your glasses? Do you got your official glasses? We got official glasses and stuff.
Yeah. Wife went and picked those up. We're also going to be flying the drone. I'm going to have the drone in the air.
Oh, cool.
Checking that out and stuff like that.
Like freaking out your neighbors and stuff? Like,
yeah. I want to get high enough where I can see the shadow kind of overtake the earth and stuff like that, but we'll see how it goes.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. Anyway, this is the Raiders show, not the drone show.
It's not a Raider Eclipse radio. Although it could have been last night on a friggin' defense.
We'll get into that. All right, here we go. We got CF Fans Mailbag. We'll jump into some topics, and we're going to recap the preseason, all that stuff, and we're talking about the Raiders Super Bowl favorites or something like that, Murph. But first, let's open up the CF Fans Mailbag.
There he is, fading, looking. He's under the gun. He's caught, he throws. It is. Oh, he caught
it. It's a beautiful blend, Murph, of an old school radio call and our voices there.
That is legit, man. That is
legit.
That is
good.
live from left field at the Oakland Coliseum when Jonas Cespedes jacked a home run in Game 2 of the 2014 playoffs.
13. Right field bleachers too.
Yeah, that's what I said.
You said left field.
No.
All
I
right.
said left field. You let me finish.
You said
right field.
left
Josh
field.
Reddick plays or used to play before we traded him too.
Look, our listeners are gonna be able to go back, bro. You said left field. It's okay, though. It's okay.
No, right field. That's what I said. Where Reggie played.
All right. CF Fans Mailbag this week. Johnny from San Diego. Murph. Johnny left more voicemails. I'm sorry. He left less voicemails than LeBron promised championships, but more voicemails than the Browns actually won championships. Johnny from San Diego delivers more than LeBron James does in 1 week.
Johnny
Four voicemails? Is that it, Murph? 4?
Yes, Johnny is dangerously close to becoming the third man in the booth here on Raiders Fan Radio. We actually, at this point, I think we are safe to call him our San Diego correspondent.
There we go. All right, so he left us 4 voicemails. I think, Murph, you got the top 2, or what'd you do with all these voicemails?
Well, we got the first couple anyways. He called us early in the week and then once later in the week, and so I grabbed his first couple. Actually, the first one, it cut him off, and so we put them together. So he's got one voicemail and then another one that he left later this week. We'll have to get that in next week's show. But for right now, this is what we got from Johnny in San Diego.
Hey, Sonny and Murf, this is Johnny over here in San Diego, checking back in, trying to catch up with the last pods. About to jump in on the review of the Raiders-Cardinals preseason game. Just a couple things that I saw. Vanderdos is legit. I think that dude's going to be a beast. Chance to get even bigger, not in terms of weight, but just muscle, those arms, and just tear some fools right up in the middle. Sean Smith, jeez, what can you say about the guy? He was getting torched with the number 2s. I don't know what the deal is in terms of trading that guy. I think it'd be impossible to cut him. Can you use him at safety maybe? Once Reggie Nelson leaves, can you put Sean Smith at safety maybe and use that guy? He looked bad. He looked pretty bad. EJ Manuel looked pretty good. I think he's going to be the number 2. Connor Cook, just that throwing motion just so weird. He just looks uncomfortable when he throws the ball. Those are my quick hits regarding the first preseason game. I want to just give you a heads up what's going down in San Diego. Going back to the, maybe 3 or 4 pods back, when you guys interviewed that dude from San Diego that wanted to become, or is going to be, or turned into a Raiders fan. There's like a grassroots effort down here where you have what used to be the FM station, the FM flagship station for the Chargers, 105.3 Rock or something like that. They're going to be broadcasting the Raiders games this season, and we're talking preseason and the full schedule. So a lot of people on Facebook and Twitter were actually on board. So I think the biggest FU that I guess Charger fans can give Spanos and the whole franchise is turning into Raiders fans, and I think it's changing. You even have the drive guys on the what used to be the Chargers flagship station on the AM dial they were in the closet Raider fans for like the biggest time. I mean, when the Chargers are here, they had to root on Chargers and blah, blah, blah because they were getting paid, right? But as soon as the Chargers left, they were all in with the Raiders. And they have backgrounds with the Raiders. One of the guys, Steve Hartman, worked PR, and his co-host, Mike Costa, his uncle was a D-line coach for Oakland and LA Raiders. So they had Raider ties, and they're coming out in full force, man. So I'm loving it. I'm trying to turn all my friends into Raiders fans. My family's already jumped in, so we're loving it over here. So it's good times, man. I can't wait for the season to get going. Good things all around. Keep doing what you're doing. Love you guys. Take it easy.
Johnny from San Diego, man. Appreciate the call.
If this were the Rome show, we'd say, rack him.
Rack him. Yeah. A couple different points there. That's kind of cool that the radio stations are churning against the Chargers, man. Like,
that's so funny, dude.
That's a pretty big FU, huh?
Oh, my gosh. The biggest.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I like how he says his family's all jumped in. So maybe for the new fans that are coming from the Chargers to the Raiders, maybe in order to help jump them in, he can get Sean Smith to help. Sorry.
Oh, jeez. Oh, man. God, Sonny.
Good hell. Okay. Johnny, appreciate it, man. Appreciate the love. I think it'd be kind of cool sometimes to live in the enemy territory and be a Raiders fan, especially now that they're going to get good again. And so, appreciate the phone call, Johnny. And our thoughts are the same, man. Vanderdos looks like a beast, although last night, Murf against the Rams, he wasn't getting quite the good push up the middle. And we'll talk about that more as we recap the Rams game. But good stuff. Thanks, Johnny. And Murf, you have another voicemail, don't we?
I do. Didn't leave his name, but here we go.
I would like to know if Marshawn Lynch is going to be playing this year.
Yes, Marshawn Lynch will be playing this year.
That's correct.
All right. And then we do every game, we do a prediction contest. We look for somebody to predict the closest score of the Raider game. And last week, somebody correctly predicted the Raiders would lose, and they had a pretty close score. This game, this week around, nobody predicted the Raiders were going to lose, Murf. But what happened is somebody basically didn't write a score. They just put a barf emoji. So
that's amazing. Well done.
Congratulations, Skip Wells out of Oswego, New York.
Nice
Your
job, Skip.
barf emoji was the closest thing to the Raider game yesterday against the Rams.
Now that could be. Now you
offense,
sure you
but the
didn't
defense.
misconstrue that? That sure you wasn't that his? That wasn't his in-depth analysis of the Raiders' defensive performance in the preseason game?
I'm not sure, but I looked at all the scores, and it was the closest thing we could possibly find to the outcome of that game. So congratulations, Skip Wells out of Oswego, New York. Murf, the Tennessee Titans game is a few weeks away. We're going to be at that game live, and we got some plans in the works. What do we got going on for that game, Murf, against the Titans?
First off, we got to come up with some kind of a transition. We got to play like maybe Rocky Top or something. We got to have some sort of a thing to hit, some sort of an audio soundbite to celebrate the idea that the Raiders are coming to Tennessee to take on the Tennessee Titans for the third year in a row in Nashville.
I got invited twice.
You got invited all three times. You know, look, when your family... Look.
Silent invites don't count, Murf. I got invited twice.
Oh, my gosh. You're always invited.
Keep going.
Maybe if you weren't my third favorite cousin. You know what was funny when you said to me the last show about being your third favorite cousin, and I said I could say the same about you. But the difference is, though, is that you have a sister. So really, like, you'd have to be... Yeah, there's like an extra one there. So it'd be like a fourth cut. Anyways. Okay, so talk about a little bit about the Tennessee Titans game. So we are closing in on finalizing our plans for our pregame experience for the Titans game. And I think what we're locking into is there's a great company here locally in Tennessee. The website is thetailgatetn.com. That's thetntailgate.com. It's run by a buddy of ours, a new friend of ours, friend of the show, Doug Harris. And you can go onto that website. You can find Doug's contact information, and you can email Doug asking me questions. But basically the gist of it is this, is that Doug has some property right there adjacent to Nissan Stadium. It's actually closer than a lot of the outlying parking lots that some of the other tailgates are happening. It's actually closer to the main entrance of the stadium where he's at, even though it's technically off property. But anyway, so it's right there, and it's thetailgatetn.com. And what they do is that they host inclusive tailgates for home fans, but really they cater to opposing teams' fans. It kind of gives you a home base. So if you're staying in downtown Nashville, if anybody's not familiar with the lay of the land downtown, there's all the bars and restaurants and shops and all that stuff is all in the downtown. They call it Lower Broad, 2nd Avenue. That's where all the stuff is. Okay. All the party stuff and whatever else you want to do. There's also, that's where you can mainly park, and then you walk across a bridge, a pedestrian bridge that goes across the river and then drops you off right there at LP Field. So if you want to park somewhere else, but then still be able to go in and enjoy the tailgate experience, that's where the tailgatetn.com comes in. So for $30, you can gain entrance to this tailgate. And on the front end, you think, well, gosh, $30, it kind of sounds expensive. Not at all, because it's completely 100% catered by Famous Dave's, which is killer barbecue. If you don't know, if you're not familiar with Famous Dave's, and it's all you can drink, including frosty, cold adult beverages, which you're going to want on a hot Tennessee morning in the early part of September. So all you can eat, all you can drink, including your booze, for $30. I mean, heck, a beer inside the stadium costs $8, right? And let alone a hot dog or whatever else. So it's a killer deal. So $30 opens up 4 hours prior to game time, and they're going to host not only, again, some of the local fans, but a lot of the opposing fans, so a lot of Raider fans. And that's where we come in, is that we are going to post up there, and we will be doing our show, I would say live, but we're a podcast. So we're going to be recording live right there on site. So we're going to have our booths, for lack of a better term, our canopies set up there. We're going to be selling some swag. We're going to be giving away some swag. We're going to be doing a raffle for a Marcus Allen jersey. We got a handful of things going on, but most importantly, come by, come join us. A lot of friends of the show, a lot of people that you hear as guests on Raiders Fan Radio will be there in attendance. So we'd love to see you as well. We're going to be doing interviews with those folks. Plus, if you want to stop on by, heck, we might just have you on the show as well. So please join us there. It's not completely worked out yet. We still got a couple small details, but it's looking like it's going to be a pretty good time for us. And we're thankful to be a part of it. Once again, it's the tailgate, TN.com, and contact Doug. You can buy the tickets right there on the website and get your passes to get in. And then the last thing I'll say is that we are going to give away 2 of these passes here on Raiders Fan Radio. We'll have details for you next week as far as how we're going to do that, how we're going to give those away. We'll have to figure out which of our listeners are coming to the game first and foremost, and then we'll come up with some fun little contest, and we will give away 2 of those passes to get into the tailgate for free. So please join us there week 1 in Nashville.
And again, on Facebook, you can also find the tailgate, which I find is easier to navigate. And on Facebook, it actually shows a couple parties they did last year for the Minnesota Vikings and for the Green Bay Packers. And it looked pretty cool. So if you're on Facebook, type in the tailgate TN and go from there. All right, Murf, topics for today's show. Right after the break, we have an interview with Ted Nguyen from RaidersAnalysis.com. Ted kind of helps us stand back from the ledge, so to say, right? I think a lot of people are quick to dismiss the Raiders all of a sudden already after 2 losses in the preseason. Ted, really great on the X's and O's. Kind of details why we shouldn't be that alarmed as of yet, but also gives us some insight as to far as, maybe what we should be alarmed about and stuff. So interview with Ted Nguyen, I think it's about a half an hour. I always appreciate him coming by. After that, we'll go into the Rams game a little bit more in depth. We'll talk about, the offense and the defense. After that, we'll talk about winners and losers from camp. Jerry McDonald wrote a really good article for the Mercury News where he outlined the 10 winners and the 10 losers from camp. Topic number 3 will be the Raiders are already, Murph, Super Bowl favorites according to Vegas and the amount of bets that have taken place over there. And I don't like that, Murph. I'm not sure if you like that, but I'm not a big fan of that. Topic number 4 or 5, I guess, Mike Tice and John Pagano press conferences. You don't hear from those guys very much, and so they offer some insight into the team and what they're seeing on their end. And finally, to wrap it up, Murph's internet black hole. So right after the break, we'll hear from our good friend Ted Nguyen from RaidersAnalysis.com.
Hey, boys and girls, this is Uncle Mosh. That's right. Somebody actually claims Sonny and Murf. These 2. Check them out on their website, RaidersFanRadio.com. You can friend them on Facebook at Raiders Fan Radio, or you can like their fan page at Raiders Fan Radio Podcast. Hey, I don't tweet. I don't even know how to use a Twitter, but they do. You can tweet them at Raiders Fan Radio. Call them. Leave a voicemail if you want. Go old school. 909-345-3346. That's 909-345-3346. Hey, do this. Please subscribe and rate Raiders Fan Radio on iTunes. You can listen to the show on all podcast services like Stitcher, TuneIn, Podcast Addict, and many, many more. Okay, am I done? Did I say all the stuff I was supposed to say? All right, I'm out of here.
All right. As we mentioned before, Ted Nguyen, RaidersAnalysis.com, writer for FanRag Sports, as well as USA Football, joins us for a quick interview talking about the game on Saturday with the Rams and also just to kind of about preseason as a whole, where we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves, maybe where there's some accuracy as far as critiques of the Raiders, and we'll play that interview for you right now. All right, Raider Nation, to help us get off of the ledge, to help talk some reason, to help talk some sense of what's going on with the Raiders defense, we brought in none other than Ted Nguyen from RaidersAnalysis.com and the maker of a very fashionable hat, I may add. It says The Nation, which sold out instantly. Ted, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Ted, I'm not doing so great, and we're just going to jump right into it. Explain to us the Raiders defense. What's going on with the Raiders defense?
Okay, first of all, I want to tell fans I am not Ken Norton Jr. Stop attacking me for how this defense performed. All right, I said there was signs of improvement. I didn't say that we're the 85 Bears. Okay, and obviously they laid an egg against the Rams. But one positive I will say is Sean McVay is a very, very good coach, and he kind of laid it on us by throwing a lot on us. Similarly, what the Titans did last year, if you remember how we performed against the Titans in preseason, it looked like they were going to score 50 points on us, and because they were using a lot of different types of plays, being exotic, when typically teams are kind of vanilla in preseason. And when the regular season came along, we played a lot better against the Titans than we did in the preseason. So there's that little bit of a positive. But defensively, it's incredible how many mental errors we make. I don't think it's a huge talent issue. I don't think that we have the greatest, talent defensively. It certainly doesn't match up with their offense. But a lot of the breakdowns are just mental, and it's just, disappointing to see because it happened all last year, and I was really just hoping that in this third year in this system that guys will at least line up correctly.
So, Ted, you bring up an interesting point. It happened last year. We all know the first six games of the season, the Raiders were awful. I believe it was the first 2 games of the season. They gave up the most yards combined for a 2-game stretch in the NFL history. Towards the end of the year, They turned it around a little bit. They were really good and making turnovers and stuff like that, but they still weren't up to snuff. Do you think a lot of this panic by Raider Nation is because of last year combined with this preseason, where if it was just a preseason alone, we wouldn't be panicking as much?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think that we're getting it. A lot of the fans are getting impatient with these mental mistakes and just egregious mistakes and just getting gashed. And yeah, it's like a frustration from last year. And you hope to see some changes coming in starting in preseason, but it just hasn't happened. But on the other side of things, it is preseason. It's a time for learning. But we just have to hope that when we get to the regular season that these guys are not making the mental errors that they have. And one thing that we do have that we haven't had last year is we do have John Pagano. And, John Pagano's not Wade Phillips, but if you watch his defenses in San Diego, they were always very solid. They did what they were supposed to. Their talent wasn't always great because of injuries and whatnot, but they were very sound, and they didn't beat themselves. And if we could at least get that from Pagano, and I think maybe Pagano will take a bigger role. I'm not saying he's going to take Ken Norton Jr.'s role, defensive coordinator position, but I think maybe he's going to be a little more vocal, have a little more power coming into next week, and try to get this thing right.
So help clear up some confusion, Ted. Is it still Ken Norton's defense? Is he the coordinator, and Pagano is just like an assistant, or what's the breakdown there of those two guys?
So I don't know for sure, but just based on what I've read, based on what I've seen, Pagano was brought in to take away the secondary from Norton. I think he's there to change the scheme in the secondary, be in charge of communications, everything going on in secondary, and just allow Norton to focus on the front of the defense. And I think they were hoping that with just Norton focusing up front, that he could get that thing straight while Pagano fixes things on the back end. And while Raiders were talking about the back end being improved with communication and stuff in training camp, we haven't seen it in preseason yet. But the mental errors on the front are still happening right now. So I think that. And I saw, we saw a clip of a camera view of the bench, and Pagano was talking to the front of the defense too. So that leads me to believe that maybe Pagano is going to start having a little more to say about the total overall defense.
I think it'll be welcomed. I'm having some trouble, Ted. I imagine other people are. Say the Raiders come out in a cover 3, right? 3 over the top, 4 on the middle, and then rushing 4. To not give away your secrets, you don't have to, come with corner blitzes and stuff like that. You just call a base cover 3. You're not giving away a whole lot, right? And if the players are running that correctly, less guys are running seam routes all day on you, which we're not really seeing. We should have decent coverage. So where is it? Like, where's the line drawn between it's preseason, don't worry, we're just running vanilla plays, to TJ Carey forgetting a guy and the guy's 20 yards wide open in the end zone, right? Like what's more at fault here? Is it vanilla play calling because it's preseason, or is it really an issue with the Raiders defense right now?
I think it's an issue because, against the Rams, we're playing a lot of cover 1. And what was happening was guys were getting sucked in by the play action and, mixing up, coming up on a run. And if you're coming up on a run and you have a guy man-to-man, nobody's covering that guy if he goes down the field. So, it all stems from the run defense because, if we're going to gas on a run, guys are going to start trying to leave their assignments to try to help on a run. And, when they leave their assignments, a guy like Sean McVay is going to find weaknesses there and attack those openings.
Coach Del Rio said he was impressed with Markel Lee in regards to his run defense. Are you seeing the same thing?
Yeah, that's what I've been saying. I've been saying this since preseason game 1 that Markel Lee has been stout against the run. But for some reason, everybody is really down on Markel Lee. I had somebody tweet me during the game saying Markel Lee's a bust during the game, during the first drive. So, and I wrote an article saying that Markel Lee was a better prospect than Zach Cunningham, and I still believe that. But even if he had he had 2 solid games against the run, I thought. But even if he had 2 bad games in the preseason, it's 2 preseason games, and guys are calling him a bust already. It's kind of crazy to me. But yeah, Lee is stout against the run. He has a little bit of trouble in coverage. Especially with coming up with a play action pass. Zach Cunningham, both of them are terrible against reading play action pass. But he'll get better. He'll get better. He's a rookie.
I like him. I think he has room to grow and stuff like that. But he's moving around. Him and James, I don't think will be as bad off as everybody's making it out to be. One more question, Ted, and I'll kick to Murf. Can Obi and Conley save this secondary? Are we expecting too much out of these 2 rookies? What do you think the impact is going to be when those 2 guys come on and take the field for us finally?
Well, I don't know if this is the greatest compliment, but I think Conley is going to be our best corner. I don't know if that means that he's a really, really good corner or our corners are that bad, but he's his film was, I thought he was a top 5. I thought he was a lock in the top 10, watching his film out of college, and then we got him late in the first round, and now he's cleared, so the value at that spot is just amazing. So I'm a huge fan of Conley. I think he's going to make a big, big difference once he's able to play. And obviously, I've been calling for the Raiders to draft Obi for a long time, so I'm really excited to see him play. But he's going to start off probably in sub packages, playing that hybrid linebacker role. And I don't think he's going to start right away, and I think that's totally fine. Actually, if anybody is going to take some snaps from Nelson at a regular free safety position, Luani looks like he's a player. He's just so instinctual. So, I'm excited. Those 3 guys could make a difference to answer your question.
Hey, Ted, thanks again for joining us here on Raiders Fan Radio. This is Murf. I got a couple questions for you about let's go to the other side of the ball, to the offense. Let's talk a little bit about what makes you smile and what makes you frown. To give an example of last night, I think it made us all smile when we saw Michael Crabtree absolutely destroy the ankles of the defensive back Troy Hill there for the Rams. Probably need a moment of silence for him. But that was amazing, and it's a shame actually that that play and the Cooper play were in the dang preseason, and it won't go down in the annals of Raider history because those were two amazing plays. But anyways, tell us about what makes you smile about the offense and what kind of makes you frown a little bit about it.
Well, anytime you see the Raiders offense on the field, it makes me smile just because, you were so sad from watching the defense, and then you make that that transition to this elite unit on the field, and, just that contrast makes me very happy. But what was good was when you saw Lynch's he only had 2 carries, but you see that first run, he still has the juice. He made a cut on a wide zone, and he just bursted up the field and finished that run with some authority, and there was some question to whether he still has that burst, and it looked pretty damn good on that first carry. But it would be a question of whether he could keep that up for a whole season. Lynch is going to make the run game a lot better. If he's going to make the run game a lot more efficient, the run game was good last year, but it was kind of like a -1-0 1-yard gain, and all of a sudden a 10-yard gain. So it wasn't that efficient. But, he still finished in 6th, so I think that Lynch is going to improve the run game. That's going to be good. You saw the impact of Jared Cook early. Raiders were playing a lot of 2 tight end sets, and he had that big catch there, so that's really exciting to see, especially with the way defenses are playing, Crabtree and Cooper with 2 high safeties. Having somebody that could run straight down the middle of the field is going to be big for Carr. Those things are really good on offense. And to answer your question about what makes me frown about the offense is that Carr interception. And there was a bit of miscommunication, but I wrote about this before, that I think one big part of improving Carr's game is improving what he does after the regular progression of the play is out. So when he has that extra time, when he buys extra time, when he breaks out the pocket, when the play isn't going as planned and you have to improvise, how's he going to play? And part of that is on the receivers. The receivers have to know where to go, where to find those open spots after the called route is done, and Carr has to know what they're thinking. And that's one thing that Aaron Rodgers and his receivers have locked down is, when he's improvising, when the regular progression of the play is over, they know where to run, and they're all on the same page when he's breaking the pocket or if he's buying extra time.
Did Crabtree give up on that route, do you think?
It's hard to tell from the TV copy. What I think happened was he was breaking inside, and he saw a defender there, and instead of trying to muscle inside of him, which was what Carr was expecting, he kind of curled up into the zone, which, is fine. But Carr has to be on the same page as Crabtree when something like that does happen. Is
that kind of a preseason move there where he's not going to risk going in there and taking a shot, and where a regular season that would probably be a play that he makes?
I think either way is fine. It's just you have to be on the same page.
Right.
You just have to be on the same page with that.
So what is the Raiders' identity on offense? When we go into Tennessee week 1, the Titans have been getting a lot of pub this offseason for their exotic smash mouth offense. And, they're gonna pound the ball with Derrick Henry and DeMarco Murray. They've got a bunch of big boys up front. Delaney Walker's gonna fit in. They got some young wide receivers. But the identity of the football team is gonna be to run the football, and it's gonna be incumbent on the Raiders to go in there, obviously, and stop them defensively. Front 7 is gonna be tested, I think, big time in that game. But what is it, as far as the Raiders offense goes, what is their identity? Do they even know? Is it all dependent on, we've seen, like as you mentioned, Marshawn kind of flash already, but is it going to go as he goes? Does it always go as the quarterback? What are your thoughts there?
I think in the past that, we had so many weapons and so many ways to attack defenses that, we didn't really establish a strong identity. I don't know whether that's really necessarily a good or bad thing. Just because, if one team's really good at stopping the run, then we could come out and we could go in our spread package and go, 4 verticals or whatnot. And if a team is really not good at stopping the run, we could go smash mouth and try to run the ball down our throats. So we were kind of, just really game plan based, and we didn't really go into games and say, all right, we're going to try to smash the team no matter what in a run game. But I think with the addition of Jared Cook and the upgrade in our tight end position, I think Walford looks a lot healthier this year. And Lee Smith is back, obviously, and the addition of Marshawn Lynch. I think that we are going to come into games saying that we're going to line up in more 12 personnel, and we're going to try to run the ball down your throat and use a little more play action pass.
So last question I got for you, Ted, before I give it back to Sonny here, is that going back to the defense for a minute, what is we talked a lot about the show, about trying to figure out what the Raiders are doing defensively, and I've waited till you've got on the show to ask you about this because I'm really intrigued. You know, the NFL offensively has seen a lot of changes over the past handful of years. It is so pass heavy, and we've just seen it evolve more and more. Not everybody, but there's so many hybrid positions now that we see on offense that we hadn't in the past, the way the tight ends are used and running backs. What about now on defense? Are we starting to, I think we're kind of starting to see that happen as well, where we're seeing these hybrid positions take hold. Is there a base formation that the Raiders run out of on defense? And really more of my question is, I get the feeling like they're going to change a lot. Like we're going to see a lot of personnel changes throughout the course of a game, maybe even more so than normal, where we see safeties coming down and playing down at the line of scrimmage more, playing almost more like a linebacker type role. We're going to see a lot of interaction on the an interchange, I should say, on the defensive line. What do you see there? Like, I just don't see us like just lining up in like a base formation with the, stereotypical size and weights and positions and all that stuff. Am I crazy in thinking all that? And what are you seeing there?
As far as all the sub packages and starting to, do more exotic things, like right now I'm so focused on just please do the simple things, right? That like I haven't even really thought about, all these possibilities you can do with the defense. But yeah, I mean, so basically, I think what a lot of people get mixed up is, so a base defense is how the defense is going to align against a pro formation. How are you going to line against one tight end, I formation, and that's what your base defense is. And our base defense is a 3-4 base. And when you start talking about nickel packages, the NFL, you're in your nickel package about 70% of the time now. So base is not really talking about usage. I think some people confuse usage and base defense. So a base defense, this is how we're going to line up against a pro 21 formation, and usage is different. But usage, we just see a lot of nickel now. And when we're in our nickel, we're in a 4-2, 4 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, 5 defensive backs. And that's what we're going to be in 70% of the time. And one thing that has evolved from the past 3 years is when we hired Ken Norton Jr., we wanted to be this single high Seattle-like team that played a lot of cover 3, a lot of man coverage. But after week 5 of last season, we started transitioning to play more 2 high safeties, quarters coverage, and we saw a lot of that in week 1 preseason. But against the Rams, they played a lot more man coverage and trying to get 8 guys in a box because the Rams are trying to run that wide zone. But I still think that we're going to start moving to playing more quarters, and it's just going to take a little bit more time to acclimate to this new coverage and get all the nuances down, all the calls down, and all that. And as far as sub packages, the only thing we've seen so far, and I'm sure there's more that's happening in practice, but we've seen that hybrid linebacker position on third downs where they'll take out a linebacker and put in a defensive back to play that position. And Sean Smith played that in week 1. That's Obi's role. That's why they drafted him. They want Obi to play there, but unfortunately he's been a little nicked up. But I think he's going to play in game 3, so I'm really excited to see him play as that hybrid linebacker position.
So again, we're talking with Ted Nguyen, RaidersAnalysis.com, also writes for FanRag NFL and the USA Football. You mentioned Obi and Smith. The way I see it, we have kind of 5 somewhat reliable defensive backs. We got Obi and Joseph, Conley, Amerson, and Smith. Obviously, we haven't seen Obi and Conley take the field yet, but we have hope. Smith, there's a lot of question marks. I still think he can be used, kind of like you said, on the inside as a hybrid linebacker there against tight ends. If we go to a quarters coverage, kind of who's the odd guy out? Does Carey not get as many looks? Everybody was high on Breon Borders, or maybe Smith. Smith is helping himself, right? So what do we do there? What do you think is the outcome with that?
Smith has definitely been, he was disappointing last year. And this preseason, he looks even, I had some hopes that he would, maybe lose some weight and be a little more comfortable in a new team and play a little bit better this season. But he's looked like he's gotten even worse. His coverage ability, he just doesn't look like he has any change. His change of direction looked like it got worse. His tackling was terrible yesterday was terrible. So I think, I don't know, like I said, that hybrid linebacker role, that's Obi's role. And as he comes back, as Conley comes back, his snaps are going to get less and less.
So should the Raiders cut him? What do we do with Smith?
We already gave him $9.5 million, so it's I don't know if you cut him, but I didn't think there's a chance he got cut after we paid him that $9.5 million. Even if he got benched, I thought he could be at least a dependable backup. But his play is so bad now that I wonder if it's just better to cut him and cut our losses and then just try to develop one of these young guys like Borders and McDonald, Carey.
Ted, a couple weeks ago, you were at training camp. I think you got invited, right, to be part of the media. Had you been before as a fan, or was this your first time overall?
It was my first time, so I actually got Vic Tafer, got invited me to go with him and help him out with some stuff. So that was a pretty good opportunity to go. And yeah, I've been to a bunch of different teams' training camps, but the Raiders are actually, they're pretty private with their training camps. So that was my first time actually getting to see the Raiders training camp. And luckily, since I had the media pass, I got to be on the field, and it was just like amazing watching. You see the speed and physicality on TV, but you don't realize how fast and physical these guys are until you're actually on the field watching them close up.
Any insights? Were you able to talk to the players, or you just kind of have to keep a distance? Or as a Raiders fan, which you are, that must have just been, otherworldly,
Yeah, no, it definitely was, and I was told to keep a low profile, so I didn't. It's not like I was going to go out and fanboy and go ask for autographs and whatnot, anyways. But I was told to keep a low profile, so I just kind of enjoyed things, took it all in. Still a great experience.
Did you learn anything about the Raiders' offense and defense, or is it just?
Defensively in training camp, I saw a lot of talking, and I just thought the communication was going to be better because of all the talking happening on the back end. I saw him making adjustments and whatnot. So I do believe Jack Del Rio when he said he believes the communication is better, but it's just when the lights are on, these guys haven't brought that communication that they're doing in practice into game situations.
Del Rio keeps mentioning eye violations, which is basically, mental errors and stuff like that. I think the first game, it looked like the Raiders were in a cover one, and Reggie Nelson bit on that crossing route, which freed up the guy on Amerson that he was guarding, took the inside route. Last game, Carey has that big blunder, forgets Coop, I think, who was in the end zone. Is it on Del Rio to find, innovative ways to help them adjust, or does it come down to the actual player and the coaches have done enough and now the players need to step up?
That's a very hard question, and that's something that I was thinking about this morning too. You don't know unless you're there every single day with these guys in practice. Because you don't know how hard the coaches are preaching this, but it seems like it's a big deal because Del Rio does talk about it a lot, these eye violations, which stemmed from last preseason too. So I guess it's part on the players, part on the coaches. But like I said, it's a very hard question to answer without being there every day and knowing what these guys are teaching and what's happening in practice.
All right, Ted, any last words before we go? What's your message to Raider Nation, to those fans who are on the ledge? They're losing their team. The team comes out and stinks the first 2 preseason games, at least on defense. What's your message to Raider Nation as a whole?
Remember that we won 12 games last year. Despite all these negative things, we won 12 games last year. I do believe this team is a better team. We have continuity. The talent on offense is better. The pieces are, like I said, the defense is, as far as talent-wise, they're not terrible. I think they have even better than average talent, but it's just these mental mistakes that keep coming up, and those mental mistakes are correctable. And, I understand that last year it was pretty much the same situation where we're making a bunch of mental mistakes. I do think the talent is better this year, and we do have John Pagano there, and which we didn't have last year. So I think there's a little more hope. But like I said, it has to happen on the field. So we have a good team. We won 12 games with a really bad defense last year, and if this defense could even be average or maybe just even a little below average, we could hope to have another 10-win season, and I think that could happen.
All right, Raider Nation, he's Ted Nguyen, RaidersAnalysis.com, writes for FanRag and for USA Football. Ted, thanks for joining us, and we'll probably have you on during the season as well.
Yep, thank you guys. It was great.
All right, take care.
Thank you, Ted.
All right, once again, I'd like to thank Ted for joining us on the show. Murf, he kind of broke down some stuff that left me feeling a little better. But then at the same time, even he still had questions about it, And I think that's the theme of this team right now is the offense is going to score a lot of points, but the defense still has a lot of question marks around it, right? In regards to the one question of, is this more of a coaching error or a player error as far as are the coaches not doing enough to help the players be successful, or are the players just simply not stepping up? And I think that's the biggest question we all have. And half the crowd saying fire Ken Norton, and the other half the crowd is saying Obi and Conley will save us. Where do you stand in all this? I don't know. It's frustrating. It's frustrating.
Well, I forget which coach it was that famously said, you start listening to the fans too much and you'll end up sitting with them. So I try to, not that I don't, enjoy talking about this stuff with other fans and hearing their, the opinion of, Obi and Conley are going to save us. But really? Will they? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I tend to trust more in guys like Ted or, obviously the pros that we see and hear week to week. So, it was a little disturbing to hear Ted not be very confident in some of the things that he saw in the game and the frowns that he had on defense. And, Sonny, there's a part of me that feels like we've almost regressed, and I don't mean necessarily like player to player, but certainly as an overall. And that always equals bad coaching. Whenever you have a regression with the same talent or the same personnel, then that's typically a coaching issue. And I feel like, look, we all have delusions about last year. And I say that, and hear me out, Raider fan. When I say delusions, I mean we were a very good football team, and we were very good with our quarterback, and we're not as competitive without him. But let's not pretend that some of these things weren't there last year. Like, these holes were there, and as good as they were playing and as much as success as they found, the offense bailed us out of a lot of things. Think about how many times we gave up, just the Carolina game. Think about how many times we gave up points late in the games to allow teams to crawl back in it, and it was because of our defensive lapses that we had. We just had, I believe you brought up earlier about the amount of yards they gave up in the first 2 games. As great of a comeback and win as that was week 1 against the Saints last year on the 2-point conversion, why in the heck were we in that position to begin with? And if we had a halfway decent defense at the time, we wouldn't have been. So I feel like the same issues that were there last year defensively are still there. And while you can say, okay, well Reggie addressed that. That's why he drafted Obi. That's why he drafted Okay, well, fair enough, but we still have the same guys as last year, and those guys still suck. So I'm like, they hadn't gotten any better. So I don't know, because it's not like Conley and Obi are like taking up a bunch of reps in practice. So I don't know, man. I'm disheartened, frankly, by Ted, and not because of him, but just because, like, again, I trust his analysis, I trust his opinion on this stuff, and if he's not encouraged, what are we gonna do, man? You know?
Some have blamed Ted for making the Raiders seem like they're the 85 Bears on defense.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
He's like, I'm not Ken Norton Jr.
Yeah. Yeah, don't get mad at me.
Save your tweets. Yeah, I didn't design this defense.
I think what it is simply there's a reason to be worried if you're a Raiders fan. And whether you're an X's and O's guys, whether you're a casual fan, whether you're a reporter, after seeing this now for a year, I mean, it's really been a year. I think about the Saints game. That was, almost 1 year ago. There's reason to worry. Something's not getting done. Whether it's players or whether it's coaching, something is not getting done. And yes, last year, Raiders won 12 games, but their defense wasn't very good. When it came to needing a stop, the Travis Kelce's of the world, we couldn't stop those guys, right?
Think about how many games last year late we gave up.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
happened in Atlanta. Tampa Bay. You think about. All those exciting finishes. Those are great. But how many of those were totally avoidable?
They're not great. We want games to be out in the third. By the third or fourth quarter, we should be relaxing, right? But too many times we had heart attacks last year because the games came down to the wire and stuff. The Dread Pirate walk-off with Seth Roberts. That's a cool moment, but it should never have happened. Our offense, Derek Carr had to throw for over 500 yards to win that game. We had to go on a 2-point conversion with a few seconds left to beat the Saints. Like, we shouldn't have to do this if we had even a mediocre defense. And now some people will say, well, towards the end of the season, they were a really great team. The numbers, I would argue that. I would really, really argue that. Think about this, Murf. If we lost Khalil Mack for whatever reason, if Khalil Mack's not on this defense, this is a really, really bad defense with not one bright spot, right? He is the only bright spot on the defense. I like Irvin. I think he's great, but we still have no pass rush up the middle. Vander does look really great in the first preseason game. He didn't look that great yesterday against the Rams. The linebacker play, promising. I don't think they're there yet, and I thought about this last night. The Raiders have a problem. The Raiders have an offense that is built to win right now. Their defense is not built to win right now. So what do we do? What gets sacrificed, right? We're still 2 or 3 years away from the defense really being something special, I think, if Conley and Obi, come out to be who they are. Mac will be, that much more of a vet. I think then they'd be really good. Will our offense still be there? Our offensive line's kind of getting older. Who knows if Penn's going to come back? The Raiders have an issue on defense, and it needs to be addressed. And if it doesn't, there's no way we're winning 12 games again this year. I don't think we're going to win 12 games already, simply because the teams we're playing were winners last year, and because we won, we have a tougher record by default. Not because I don't think the team is as good as they were last year. I think they're a little bit better on offense. On defense, I'm questioning if they're better or not. But already we have an uphill record or uphill battle.
Yeah, I think they're the same at best. And you're right. We have a superstar all-world player in Khalil Mack. We have a very good player in Bruce Irvin. Everybody else
they're unproven.
Is
unproven.
I mean, and we can like Carl Joseph and where he's tracking. We can like Emerson. There's a lot of things to get excited about and to look forward to, but none of it is a slam dunk. You have 2 guys out of 11 that are a slam dunk that are going to show up and are going to be gamers, game in, game out. So yeah, I'm with you. There's a lot of holes and there was nothing that Ted was able to really, take solace in to talk us out of it, but then the converse of that is, I love what he had to say about our team offensively. And it's not unheard of to go out and just beat the snot out of people and outscore them every week. Now, look, that's not the way you want to play football in the NFL. And one of the reasons that I asked about their identity on defense was I wanted to get an idea of if we're going to be the 07 Patriots, if we're going to go out there and just be, let Derek Carr be a total gunslinger, flinging the ball downfield to Coop and to Crabtree and Cordell Patterson and all the different weapons and Jared Cook and all that stuff. And you're just gonna play fast break, right? And you're just gonna Drew Brees your way through a season. That's fine, but that's not what Ted said is going to be the identity of this team. And I don't think that's what Reggie built this team to be. I think that we're capable of handling ourselves in a shootout, but they're building the team to be a run team, to grind people up, right? Mm-hmm. They're wanting to follow, the Marshawn Lynch example, not the freaking, Drew Brees, Tom Brady example here, Tom Brady 07 anyways. But I mean, so I think that's what's concerning is that it's like, all right, we can do all that stuff, but that's not what the team is supposed to be built. We're supposed to be, a power team, So I don't know, man. I'm worried. I'm flat worried. I feel more worried this year than I did last year because last year it was like, all right, the team's going to take a jump. That, with Peyton gone and, Alex Smith being Alex Smith and, Phillip being Phillip and the Chargers, going through everything they went through. It was like going into last year, it was like you kind of felt like, all right, this was our year to take the leap. And and we did, right? And it was a great year and it was an exciting year until Derek Carr got hurt. But this year, now we know what we got. We know what we have on defense. We know what we have in Travis, Jim Carey, and Carl Joseph and Reggie Nelson, and we know all these guys now, right? Now what do we minus? Nate Allen? Like, aside from that, without Hayden, Conley and Obi on the field, it's the same friggin' team on defense. And we still got the same friggin' problem. And Dan Williams, okay? So you subtract Nate Allen and Dan Williams.
Well. Nate Allen, Dan Williams, Pete J. Riley, and DJ Hayden.
All right. So, but DJ Hayden's not getting on the field, right, in your base defense. All right. So, and then you're right. And Riley. And so you trade out Riley for what? Maybe Jelani Jenkins or whoever else. I don't know. But it's not enough. I guess is what I'm saying is that it's not enough. And while Conley and Obi may save the day, they're not getting reps. Like at what point are they going to start being contributors when they haven't had any reps here in the offseason? Working through these. So, I don't know. We'll get more into this later, and we're probably already too far off topic as it is. But thank you to Ted for coming in. Thank you for his insight, as always. He fires me up, man. And I had so many more questions I wanted to ask the guy just about different, like Jelani Jenkins in particular, and just about some of the plug and play. But I think that he's right. That I liked what he had to say about it's not necessarily. How did he word it? It's not necessarily the formations. But what did he say? It's not the groupings, but what did he call it? He had a word for it. That was really cool.
The packages?
Yeah, it was something else. I don't remember exactly what it name was for. But his way of evaluating who's on the field at any given time, I thought that was really, really interesting. And that's something that, look, if we are to get excited about anything, and I've probably said it ad nauseum at this point, but I'm excited about the Raiders' options defensively. Here I just got done griping about all the same players. But with the ones that they did get, it allows for a lot more versatility than what we've had.
But we haven't seen them do anything with it.
But we haven't freaking seen them do anything with it. That's exactly right. So, I don't know, man. But thank you to Ted for coming on and joining us here, and we'll look forward to talking to him again soon.
Yeah, thanks for calming our nerves, Ted.
I know, he just wound us up even more. Sheesh.
Brought him on to help us make sense of it all. Instead, I'm that much more upset. Anyway, appreciate Ted for coming on the show. Again, check out Ted Nguyen on Twitter, at Raiders Analysis, on the website, RaidersAnalysis.com, and writes for FanRag and USA Football as well. After the break, we'll talk more about the preseason loss to the Rams.
DeadPiratesSports.com. Raider gear for our Raider Nation family. huge selection of affordable, authentic Raider items and custom gear. Coolers, baby items. That's right, train them early, train them right, baby items. Barbecue accessories. Who don't like barbecue? You know who don't like barbecue? 49er fans don't like barbecue because you can't barbecue alfalfa sprouts. Books, caftans, and as soon as we figure out what you do with the caftan, we'll let you know. Candles, flags, glasses, earrings, floor mats, hats, jerseys, kimonos, ponchos, helmets, cups, pendants, pet clothes, mugs, socks. Raiders socks. I got Raiders socks. Get you some Raiders socks. Temporary tattoos, tote bags, wall clocks, and towels. That's right, towels. You know why? Because we got an inbred cousin. I don't know if he's really in the family or not, but he's a Bronco fan, and he can dry his little red-headed tears. So check out deadpiratesports.com. Let him know you heard about him on Raiders Fan Radio and find all the Raider gear you could possibly want. That's deadpiratesports.com. Raider gear for our Raider Nation family. By Raiders fans, for Raiders fans, the only fans that matter.
My only question is, does Uncle Mark have the tops of those Raiders socks he mentioned?
Cut me, Marie.
All right. We kind of went into it a little bit after the interview with Ted, the recap of the Rams game. The offense looked awesome. Watching Lynch take his first carry, he looked electric. Got 6 yards. Carr was throwing dimes. That pass he threw to Lee Smith over the middle. That was between, three defenders, right? That was on fire, right? Cooper's catch. Oh my gosh. Have you ever seen a guy hang in the air that long? It was like he jumped and then adjusted again when he was in the air. That was phenomenal.
On the double jump.
Yeah,
Yeah, we've seen him do that twice now, and that one was more difficult than the first time because this time he was catching the ball back behind his head.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
That was disgusting. I thought yesterday's game against the Rams, Cook looked better than E.J. Manuel. I think Cook stepped up, and I think it's kind of 1-1 now. I think E.J. won the first game. I think Connor won the second game. So we'll see what happens there.
So now we can overreact the other way.
Yes, exactly. That's what you do as a fan. Crabtree just looked ridiculous, breaking that guy's ankles. Made it. I think the NFL tweeted it out. Said, or something like that. So that was pretty awesome. And then the other thing, Murph, I thought that was impressive about yesterday's game was David Sharp. I believe David Sharp played the whole game at left tackle, and not one sack was surrendered until the very last play of the game, and that was on Connor Cook there. So my question there, and I put it out there on Twitter, one guy made a lot of sense. I think his name was Mo Morton or something like that. I said, does the play of Sharp give leverage back to the Raiders? And he made a good point. He said, Donald Penn played 621 snaps last year and gave up 1 sack. David Sharp played 1 preseason game. I still think it gives the Raiders a little bit of leverage, but probably not enough to say, you know what, Penn, kick rocks or, come back, essentially. You know what I'm saying? But overall, I thought the offense looked a little better than what I thought they were going to look. I mean, they came out. Carr had the 1 interception. Looked like Crabtree didn't continue the in route. And, it's kind of on the scramble. I don't think Carr was really keeping it close to the vest because it was preseason. Who knows if he even throws that pass to Cooper, that he caught. That was a spectacular catch during the regular season because he might, kind of keep things a little more conservative. I thought overall the offense just looked phenomenal. And I was happy to see David Sharp play left tackle essentially the whole game and didn't give up the sack. What were your thoughts on the offense, Murph?
Yeah, I think offensively, that's it in a nutshell. And it's what a shame that we're going to lose those 2 plays to the preseason, the one by Crabtree and the one by Amari Cooper, because those were just, incredibly just electric plays. You don't see plays like that in a preseason very often, and that was pretty darn cool. So, anyways, we'll lose those to history. But outside of that, there was a few things that I noticed offensively. Late in the game, like you said, Cook looked good, especially that one that he threw to Holton in the corner of the end zone. My gosh, man, on the dark side there.
Yeah, that was nice.
He dropped that. He dropped that thing right in the basket, man. That was a really nice play. But yeah, offensive line looked good as an overall. Carr looked like a stud. Marshawn looked good. Cook got in the game and looked good. I mean, it was like all the pieces are there offensively. So I think we're looking really good. Going to special teams, I thought was pretty interesting. I didn't see Mongo Feliciano coming as a kick returner, but hey, if it works,
Cordell who?
I know, right? Yeah. Hey, get you some, big man. That was actually pretty cool. It was pretty funny how he actually followed his blockers and everything too. Guys got pretty good hands and instincts there. So that was pretty good. But yeah, offensive special teams looked solid. What'd you think about on defense? Well, how about this? Let me start. Let's cleanse the palate for a second.
Let's preface this real quick. We're fans. Sean Smith could beat us in any football drill known to man.
Hey, don't be talking about Sean Smith beating us, okay? Sorry. Whoops. I say that out loud.
Sean Smith could outperform us in any football drill known to man, right? So this isn't a you stink, we could do it better than you. This is just at this point, Murf, I'm like sad. What do you do on the defense? I'm so sad. I don't know what to do. Go ahead.
All right. So there are a couple things that I saw that were let's look for some positive. Let's look for the silver and black lining. Okay.
Can you Pollyanna this defense? Pollyanna this defense for us.
No, there is no Pollyannaing this defense.
Mac got a sack. That was Pollyanna.
Well, against a couple tight ends. I mean, come on. I mean, look, it was great, and clearly Mac's amazing. He is amazing. He is the identity of our defense. He is a leader of our football team. There is no doubt. But you put a couple of tall, skinny guys with 80s numbers blocking him, he's going to truck them all day long, and he did. He split that double team, and boom, down went Jared Goff. So, I mean, we'll see. Like it was funny, Matt Millen on the broadcast, I liked his line. He said, 2 tight ends do not equal one tackle. Yeah, that was pretty good. But but here's what I did see. You know me, I've been clamoring for Jelani Jenkins, and he looked good. I speculated that he was part of the solution for the Raiders at inside linebacker because of his coverage skills and his mobility. And sure enough, what was he doing last night? He was matching up on tight ends. He was matching up on running backs. And I think there was one in particular on an out route that I forget what that tight end's name is, but there was like a 15-yard out that I saw that he got caught on. But outside of that, he did awesome in coverage all game long. I don't think he gave up any other completions other than that. And you can clearly see his speed and explosiveness, that the guy's got a nose for the football. And when it's go time at the line of scrimmage, he's there. So I thought Jelani Jenkins had a pretty decent game, and I'm encouraged that could be one of those things, again, maybe something that we've kind of overlooked that will show up, and that maybe the Raiders have that in their holster. We'll see. But that's something that was encouraging. Also, Tyrell Adams at linebacker. I wasn't familiar with him. I didn't watch the second half of the first game other than a few highlights where I guess he got some more time in. But last night I watched the whole thing, which was at midnight, by the way. Thanks, NFL Network. I don't get the game live here where I live. I have to wait until the freaking replay, and it's at midnight. So I'm up until 3:20 in the morning watching the freaking Raiders game, which I guess is good. So anyways, because it's Raider football, and I'll stay up and watch it. But so I stayed up late and watched Terrell Adams play, and he looked pretty darn good. I thought that he looked good as well. So, here we have these major concerns on the defense, and we have 2 pieces that could quite possibly start to, show some signs of life. And then the best part about that is this, and then we're going to talk about Pagano here in a minute in the next segment. But Pagano was a linebackers coach. I know he was brought in to handle the secondary and all that and increase the communication and all that stuff. I use that word with finger quotes that you can't see on a podcast. Communication, that's the buzzword the Raiders are throwing around, which is basically, I think, their way of saying that he's there to check up on Ken Norton. But so this guy's supposedly in there to deal with the secondary, but he's a linebacker guy. You look at his resume, he's a linebacker guy. So is Ken Norton, but also so is Jack Del Rio. So I gotta think.
And so is Reggie McKenzie.
And so is Reggie McKenzie. So you gotta think that they've at some point those influences And the talent between all of those guys and the knowledge between all those guys combined has got to show up at the linebacking position. And maybe, just maybe, we saw a little glimpse of it last night.
I'm still not convinced. You still haven't.
All right, and I got one more thing for you then. That was kind of funny. Is every time I turn on a football game, does Greg Olsen have to be on the other sideline? Did you notice that? I guess he's the quarterback's coach now for the Rams. I feel like every time I watch a Raider game, he's a coach on the opposing sideline. Ever since we canned him as a coordinator, now he's gone to, I know it's only been like 2 teams, but doesn't it feel like we see him all the time? Ugh. It's not like Jason Tarver shows up on every game, you know?
Does that make it worse that Greg Olsen beat us?
Yeah, and he's freaking celebrating it.
The only bright spot I noticed on the defense outside of Mac is Luani. Shalom Luani.
Oh, yeah.
He's a playmaker, man.
He's a playmaker.
He's around the ball. He's causing deflections. He almost had an interception that first game. He's around the ball, and I like his presence. Unfortunately, I don't know where he's going to play because you got Joseph, you got Nelson, and you got Obi. And then you got Luani in my eyes as far as depth chart. I think Obi hopefully is going to surpass Reggie Nelson this year. But then where does Luani go, But I like him. He flies around the ball, and I think he's pretty fun to watch. Travis James Carey had 8 tackles yesterday. But if a quarterback has 8 tackles, Murf, what does that mean?
That means that his receiver's getting open, and he's finishing off the play out of position.
Yeah, so, Carey... I think Smith had a better game than Carey did last night. Like, there was that one play, and it looked awful once they showed the replays of Carey. He bit on that play action so bad in the backfield, and that guy, by the time Carey noticed what was going on and turned around, his guy was literally 20 yards behind him walking into the end zone. And then what does Carey – did you see what Carey did afterwards? He just stood there with his hands on his hips and just going, oh, crap. That did not look good at all. That was bad, man. That
at home in the black hole, giving it up in that end zone, he's got to be embarrassed.
Unless Conley comes in and plays all world, Raiders still have secondary issues, and you hoped it was going to be fixed in the offseason, but I don't know, man. I don't know. And maybe Sean Smith, maybe the stuff with his sister, and let's touch on that real quick. If he was defending his sister, then props to him, You got to do what you got to do when it comes to your family. But maybe that's been weighing on Sean. Maybe that's why he can't play and stuff, Well,
do we want to go in? Do we want to go in on that now? I thought we had Sean later in the segment. Do we want to do it now?
We don't have it as a topic. We can go on it now.
All right, let's go in on it now. All right. Go ahead. Is that it?
If you're defending your sister, you got to do what you got to do. Now, who knows if it was too severe, less severe, I don't know. But, family's family, man. That's why I look at it.
All right. And you speaking at, having a younger sister, you're a pretty good resource for an opinion on that. And I would agree. I agree with you, but only to a certain extent. If someone puts hands on family like that, then yes, you're gonna take a run at them. I get it. Like I always say, we're Italian. We know how this works. Okay. I get it. But when you hear things like head stomping, that's when I'm like, all right, dude, I get handling business and all that kind of stuff. But at a certain point, you've got to know that you are an NFL athlete that's on probation and that anything like this that you do, guess what? Not only are you going to go away, but you're going to go away for years and years. And my question is this. He posts $80,000 in bail and gets out. Why is he in the game? Like
that was weird, wasn't it? That was kind of weird.
Yes, it was friggin' weird. He was not only in the game, he was in the game early, taking away reps from other young guys that freaking need it. The guy, like I said, is already on probation from the DUI. He's facing 7 years in prison, and they're going to, quote, fight this thing to the end. Well, guess what? You can fight it all you want, but if the NFL decides that you violated the personal conduct policy, ask Ezekiel Elliott what happens. You're not going to play. So come on, Reggie. Like, he's killing me with this stuff with these guys that have these issues. I get backing up your guy. I get even why Sean Smith did what he did. But at a certain point, you've got to understand that you are a professional athlete that's highly scrutinized, that has a freaking past already. And why the hell isn't your boss taking that crap into account before he sticks your ass on the field? And he's playing like crap. So, like, what are we doing, Raiders? What are we doing with this? I continue to question the motives and to understand what Reggie is doing with some of his decision making in this stuff. It's like he doesn't have a big picture or a long-term focus. And listen, I'm the biggest Reggie apologist, and I think that he's done amazing things for our football team. And my criticism of these things are in no way to detract of all the wonderful things that he's done and all the talent that he's found our team, the draft he's done, the health he's brought to our salary cap. All of those wonderful things are still just as wonderful. But on the same note, on the other hand, I'm going to question, what are you doing with these guys that are getting themselves in trouble? What are you doing with these guys? And in the meantime, no one is on the field. No one is getting better. We're regressing. I think I'm trying not to throw out bad words. It's BS, Sonny. It's BS, and I'm appalled that Reggie and the organization are still going down this dang path. Protect your guy, fight for your guy, fine, but put his ass on the sidelines when you're doing it.
Son of a Bronco, you're pissed off. Yeah, I mean, I think the Sean Smith thing is a mess at this point. Half Raider Nation wants to cut him. Half of Raider Nation doesn't know what a salary cap is. Half of Raider Nation wants to keep him playing. You know, nobody knows what to do. You know, and
he's
really,
gonna get suspended.
But really,
best case scenario,
he's still gonna
get suspended.
But really, we don't know either, Murf. We don't know.
We know he's gonna get suspended.
No, we don't. We don't know anything.
You don't think Warden Goodell is gonna come down on this fool for stomping a guy's head?
We don't.
It's
know.
all about protecting.
We don't know the details, man. How can you say that? You don't know the details. I don't know the details, and you don't know the details.
It doesn't matter.
Yes,
it's
it
in the
does.
media that he's, quote, head stomping a guy after he beat the snot out of him. That's going to violate the NFL's personal code of conduct, and he's going to be on the damn bench. Watch.
But you don't.
It won't matter.
But we don't know the details, and so I understand where Reggie's coming from when he says let's let it play out and see what happens. I get that. I did think it was weird he was on the field last night. I think maybe the right thing would have been to sit him and just say, hey, you've had a rough week. You didn't play well last week. Now with this stuff with the law enforcement, let's just have you sit out and chill out for a minute and take some of the spotlight off of you. I think that might have been the best move to do from the Raiders' perspective. But they did it, and he played. Now there's question marks of why he played. And this just goes to show what we said last week. The Raiders are starting to have some problems in regards to the PR department.
Yep.
This isn't helping anything. Lynch sat again for the second week in a row. However, Carr put his hand on Khalil Mack's shoulder, and that was really kind of a bright moment, you could say, from the game last night.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, the Sean Smith thing is a mess. And the faster it's done, the happier I'll be, because it's not getting any better, it seems like. And I feel bad for the kid. I really do. You know, no human ever wishes any human harm and stuff like that. And I don't wish he would go to prison and all that stuff. But he has to own up to what he did for sure. But this guy had so much promise. And when we signed him, remember when we signed him, man, we were hyped. We were like, this is a lockdown kind of cornerback. We're going to be studs now, you know? And then it just didn't pan out. So it's sad. In all honesty, I feel for the guy. It's been not a graceful fall from, you know, or what do they say? It hasn't been a fall from grace, or has been a fall from grace. It's not been good. And I can easily see him not being on the team.
In 10 feet. Continue convincing yourself long distance.
Sorry. I can see him not being on the field halfway through the year, when the year's up, you know?
I agree. I totally agree. And it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But you're right. This just absolutely adds fuel to that fire that you called it. You called it. I wasn't thinking this was as big of an issue going into our examination of it last week about the Raiders having a PR issue. But when you put somebody that's been charged with the level of violence that he's been charged with, yeah, you're going to have a PR problem. I mean, what's the hot button in the NFL right now, right? What's one of the domestic violence, man? Like, and you're going to put
and this wasn't domestic violence, you know. It was noble, but I guess at a certain degree, it's like, well, you should have stopped yourself. Well, if you've ever been in a fight, you know, it's most of the time you can't just stop yourself, you know, especially if emotions are involved. We don't know if alcohol was. I mean, this is what I'm saying. We don't know the details.
It was July 4th, dude. You know alcohol was involved.
We don't know the details. So I'm not going to sit here and cast judgment because I don't know the details. It may look like something, but until we know, I can't personally cast any judgment against the guy until we know the details. And so, but what I can say is it's a freaking mess. We can wholeheartedly say that 100%. It's a mess and needs to be dealt with.
Hey, boys and girls, this is Uncle Mosh. I'm sitting here. I got my Raiders jersey on. I'm wearing my Raiders hat. I got my eye black under my eyeballs. I got my Raiders football in my hand. I'm wearing my silver and black underwear. If there was only a good podcast I can listen to about Raiders football, I would be so excited. But all I got is Sonny and Murf on Raiders Fan Radio.
All right, we need something happy to talk about. Let's talk about 10 winners from training camp. Let's not even talk about the losers. Let's just focus on the winners here. Jerry McDonald, Mercury News, August 18th, wrote an article and talked about the 10 winners and the 10 losers from training camp. We're going to focus on the winners because we need something good to talk about after that last segment. Number one winner he put down as Derek Carr. And quite simply, he states the Raiders will go as far as Carr takes them, and he's showing signs of nothing less than being a top 10 quarterback. Anything else to say about that, Murph? Pretty cut and dry, right?
No, but I would like to highlight just one thing, and it's kind of reflective back on the last topic, and then we'll move on from it. But I would like to say this: not only is Carr a camp winner, and will he lead the team on the field, but I am continually impressed with his conduct off the field and as a leader of men, not just a leader of the team. And that gesture that you mentioned, that him putting his arm on Khalil Mack last night as a sign of unity. And I think that for what he spoke about afterwards, about how they're best friends and they love one another, I think that harks back to what your message was last week about in the end, it's just love, and let's not complain about the dark. Let's turn up the light. And I think that that's what Derek Carr does. That's what Khalil Mack does. And so, yes, absolutely. Derek Carr's a winner at camp. He's the winner of football. He's a winner. He's winning at life, this guy. I just, I could, continually impressed by, and he's a young man. So yeah, it doesn't get any better than that. What else could you want out of a quarterback for your football team, right?
To come on our show and talk to us.
Yeah.
We've never asked him, but that'd be pretty cool. Number two, Khalil Mack. Obviously these are pretty solid guarantees here of top winners. Missed a couple practices, but he's looking like he's going to be the next $100 million man in the offseason next year. Number three, they had Marshawn Lynch. Murph, how many practices did Marshawn Lynch miss during this training camp?
I believe that answer is none.
He missed 0. So you could say what you want about the guy, but what we know about him so far is he gives back to his community in big ways, and he hasn't missed a practice yet. You gotta like that, Murph, from a returning retired professional athlete who's cemented his legacy. He hasn't missed one practice. I like that, especially in light of Donald Penn. Like, hey, here's a longtime vet who's shown up to every practice. Take some notes, Donald Penn, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. There's a lot to admire with Marshawn as well. You mentioned everything off the field. Again, another example of off the field. I'm going to pick at one little thing about him, though. Regardless of whether you do or do not or understand or support or whatever about his action, to be flippant about the answer when they ask you about it, that to me I thought was a little irresponsible, because I think that when you start doing things that put the spotlight on you, that, when you get the spotlight, don't then clam up about it. Like if you don't want the spotlight, then don't take the stage. kind of a thing, So I was a little surprised by that, and I'm hoping that in somehow that whatever that communication is, that whatever message he wants to send or whatever it is, heck, even if the answer is I'm just being me, I'm just Marshawn's being Marshawn, well, that's cool. But just tell us, you know what I mean? Don't be dismissive and blow off the reporters when they ask you.
Yeah, but that's who he is, though. You know what you were getting when you signed him up.
That's true. That's a good point as well. That's a good point as well.
Ain't nobody gonna change that guy. That's who he is, and that's why a lot of people like him and a lot of people don't like him. And that polarizing kind of figure and stuff. And I guess at this point, if he produces on the field and keeps giving back to kids, I don't care what he says in the media.
I know, right? Like, how do you criticize somebody that does the amount of community work that guy does? Like, he's all about action, not just, he's all about that action, boss, right?
All about that action,
It's
boss.
pretty cool stuff.
Carl Joseph had a strong camp, especially last year. Didn't really have a good year coming back from the ACL surgery. Camp in the first 2 games, he's looked really great. Crabtree states he had a good camp as well. He put in a day's work. Every day he's been a Raider, catching everything in sight. I think Cooper missed a couple games, so Crabtree had a lot more activity at camp than Cooper did. Jared Cook quietly becoming maybe the next standout as far as our offense goes. Murf, he had a nice catch and run yesterday.
I told you.
You've been high on Jared Cook for a lot of years and stuff like that.
A lot of years, man. Go back to when he was at Tennessee, man. I'm telling you, this guy is explosive. Now that he's got a great quarterback. Oh, man, I'm telling you, he's going to – I mean, not that Aaron Rodgers wasn't, but you saw what he did in Green Bay with a great quarterback. When he doesn't have Jake Locker throwing to him, you know what I mean, or whoever else the Rams have paraded through there. You know what I mean? I think this is – yes, he's going to be a very, very explosive part of our offense.
Eddie Vanderdoe's leader in the clubhouse for Raiders Rookie of the Year. Had a good practice. We heard about him sacking Derek Carr quite a bit. I question, though, if he's going to be the guy to get us that push up the middle that we need. You have Urban and Mack on the outside, but oftentimes what will happen, and we've seen it in the game against the Rams, if the pocket's clapping on the outside, the quarterback just steps up, and he has room because we're not getting an interior push. And we need to have that interior push in order for our defense to be effective. Can Eddie do it? Against the Rams, he couldn't. Cardinals was a little different, and in practice we've been hearing some different things. So I think time will tell on that, and who else is going to be partnered up with, in those trenches right there. Shalom Luani, we talked about him. He's been a stud, special teams as well as different packages and stuff like that. And then these are some interesting ones. A center and guard, Ian Silberman, earned rave reviews from Del Rio and Mike Tice. Flawless game against Arizona in his time there as center. And he has a good chance of maybe making the 53-man roster out of nowhere. And then also somebody who's pretty high up is James Cowser. People are high on James Cowser, right? He's the white guy with long hair, isn't he? Like, he making plays, right?
Yeah, he is. And you know what? It's really important to keep, any position it's important to keep fresh legs. But having depth at pass rush is a big deal. And so if you got a guy that can come in and, look, he's not going to be as effective as Bruce Irvin, certainly not as Khalil Mack. But if he can be the kind of guy, a rotational type guy that can come in and, and give you a handful of plays and drop into coverage if need be. And, heck, man, that's what we need, right? And that's what every NFL team needs. And so, yeah, I think this guy's got a great shot at making the team.
Well, he had 3 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss in the last game. So I've been hearing his name come up quite a bit, and it'll be interesting to see what happens to him.
You just see him a lot, right? He's one of those guys he's always around the football,
Losers of camp, according to old Jerry McDonald. Number 1, Sean Smith, obviously wound up in a Pasadena jail, 2 felony counts. I feel like we're beating a dead horse at this point,
Yeah,
he says the second biggest loser of camp is Reggie McKenzie.
That, you know what? And I think he's dead on. You look at all the crap that I just got done griping about, plus the Donald Penn situation. You know what? I was actually shocked to see him put somebody from the front office on here, but he's right. I mean, who else is under more scrutiny right now on the Raider football team than Reggie?
And McDonald.
And I know part of that is because he's the boss, so it's going to start and stop with him anyways. But I mean, come on, man. He's made his bet on a lot of this stuff. I want to get off another rant again, but yeah, fairly, I think Reggie is number 2 on here.
McDonald makes the point that they're doing Donald wrong. He says no league treats its senior members so poorly, and the Raiders and McKenzie should be better than that instead of giving him the classic NFL brush off. So we'll see what happens with that. Garyon Conley, obviously because of legal issues, didn't have a good camp. Obi Melifonwu, he's been hurt, right? I think they only practiced twice with an unspecified injury. Jihad Ward. Are we done with Jihad, you think, or what's the deal? Last year he was supposed to come in. He's a second-round pick, man, but he's on a PUP list, and he can't get off the PUP list. So
yeah, it's injuries, man. I mean, it's hard to and you never want to be overly critical of a guy that can't get healthy, and and that's the worst way I would think to go down in your career is that, it's one thing if you get out there and give it your all and you just don't have what it takes. It's another thing to never be able to get out there and to prove yourself because of nagging injuries. I feel for the guy. I hate it for him, but at the same time, if you're not out there, that's part of it. Staying healthy and longevity is part of being successful in this league. And if he's not able to do it, then although it not being directly his fault, it still sucks.
Ben Heaney had a chance to be starting on the middle linebacker there. He's not. He's on the injury list as well. Denver Kirkland injury. Shalik Calhoun. Nothing. Right? Still waiting. Elijah Hood. I don't think he's done anything wrong, and I think this Jerry agrees in this article. It's just there's so many running backs right now, right? You got Richard, you got Washington, you got Lynch, you got Atkinson. And then you got Elijah Hood. So I think he'll probably make the practice squad. We'll see what happens there.
And Alawale.
Yeah, and Alawale. Well, he's fullback, a little different, but and then you got Connor Cook.
No, but he's still part of the running backs, right? How many did the Raiders carry last year? 4? And he was one of them.
Yeah.
No.
And then quarterback Connor Cook. Played decent against Arizona, but I thought Cook raised the stock a little bit against the Rams and had a better game than EJ, like we said earlier, and stuff like that. So I'd probably disagree with them there about Connor, but this was written before the Rams game and stuff like that. So overall, nothing like caught us off guard and stuff. I think maybe if anything, the fact that he put Reggie as number 2 for having the worst camp and primarily because of the Penn situation, it's not looking good. And the whole concept of him, tweeting out about Conley and then Conley tweeting back saying, "No, I don't. What are you talking about? I don't have shin splints." That's not looking good. Reggie's had egg on his face a couple times already and stuff, and so too many question marks. Take me back 4 months ago when all the hype was good things.
Oh my goodness, man! Seems like a long time ago, doesn't it?
Right? Like what the heck has happened over the last few weeks? So I don't know. But despite all this, Murph, the Raiders are still the Super Bowl favorites, according to Vegas.
Sitting there in your kimono, looking at your baby in her caftan. You're listening to Raiders Fan Radio. That's right. 2 bald-headed idiots talking to you guys. Keeping their foreheads slick and sexy. That's by Raiders fans, for Raiders fans. The only fans that matter.
That's probably one of my more creepy advertisements there, but it'll work.
I love it, man. It's so funny.
An article on thesportingnews.com published on August 16th, 2017 by Gabrielle McMillan states, Las Vegas is already being kind to the Raiders. Bets placed within the city's sports books show that the Raiders are the favorite to win the Super Bowl this season. In some places, the Raiders' odds are 6-1, vastly different from their 20-1 odds from last season's bet openings. Raiders have more bets to win their division than any other team in any other division. There's 43 bets on the Raiders and 4 on Tennessee for the first game of the year. Is this a good thing, Murph? What do you think?
Well, I'm confused about a couple of things. And I think, number one, no, it's not a good thing because I think that, I don't know. Vegas is pretty smart. right? They got all those bright lights and all those free cocktails and $2.99 prime ribs and all that stuff for a reason, right? And that's because there's a lot of people like me that go into Vegas and lose all their money. And so, reasonably, take only what you want to lose. Don't take anything else. Don't go to the ATM. Just walk in there with your cash, play what you got, and then go home. But there's a reason for it. So they're pretty smart, and when they start making book on this stuff, it's very, very well founded based on research and, what the bookmakers put together. So that said, the Raiders opened it initially this season at 20-1 favorites to win the Super Bowl. And as you mentioned, they're now 6-1. What's happened that's shifted the money line that far? Well, it's just been the action on them, right? You get enough people betting on them because the hype, right? That eventually it's going to drive those odds. So it's created. So there's a lot of action on the Raiders. Okay, so in 6 sports books in Las Vegas at 6 different casinos, they are the number 1 favorite. Okay, there are 2 times as many bets on the Raiders as any other team. Only the Patriots have better odds to win the Super Bowl. And last year, the Raiders were 10-6 versus the spread. So all this hype tells us as fans, well, that a lot of people are taking them seriously, right? A lot of people are saying that the Raiders are real and that it's now the hype. When the hype hits Vegas, like it doesn't get any more than that, right? Yeah. So it's like now they are officially in that category of anything less than a Super Bowl appearance is a letdown. So I like it that our team is good enough to garner this attention. I don't like that now this expectation has been, shoved up to the roof. And that, look, we've been talking about Super Bowl or bust for a long time on our show this year. But it seems like that those 4 months ago were an awful long time ago. That was way before all this other garbage showed up that we're dealing with now. And so that I'll be surprised if it continues the way that it does. And now here's what my biggest question about all of this is that all that stuff said, all that hype and all those bets and ways that the Raiders are looking at or being picked to be one of the favorites, the over-under on them winning games this year is only 9.5. That's only 9.5. That means you gotta win 10 games to win anything. If the Raiders win 9 games, you lose. So 10 games. 10 games barely makes the playoffs. This is the second highest. This is the team behind the freaking Patriots, who are freaking loaded this year. This is the number 2 team to get attention for betting purposes. And their over-under is 9.5. Like, to me, that's a couple of things. Is that one, this is the hype of the hype, where you just got people just betting on the Raiders because they're buying into it. But when it actually comes to Vegas making money on them, Vegas is looking at this thing and they're going, well, they're like a 10-win team. So I don't know. It's kind of alarming one way or the other. It's not good, I don't think, one way or the other, because it just, it sets us up for an expectation. And as of right now, they kind of feel like a 10-win team, don't they? Am I crazy? Am I being a sad sack?
No. At this point, with that defense, I think 10 wins would be exceptional. There's 82 bets on the over, 33 on the under. The top 5 teams with the most bets win the Super Bowl is Raiders, Packers, Cowboys, Giants, Steelers. That's cool that we're in that company. It's cool that we're thought of that way. But now we got to step up and prove it. And at this point, I see us letting down people more than rising to expectations, if you will. Only on the defense. The offense is going to continue to win us games, but how many times are we going to score a 2-point conversion? How many times are we going to win that overtime game? How many times are we going to let Derek Carr or rely on Derek Carr to drive us down the field to win it? Like, this all hinges essentially on Derek Carr. Now, he's great. You probably wouldn't want the ball in too many other people's hands this year. But it all hinges on him, man. When he busted his pinky last year, remember that? I remember we were on the phone at halftime. Oh, man, something happened to Carr. Got to go. And we held our breath. When it happened on Christmas Eve against the Colts, we knew it was done. We tried to rally around McGloin, but, the naysayers were saying the Raiders are one injury away from being a really mediocre team. And after watching the last couple games, I don't see any reason why that's not true logic. So it's cool that we're picked, Super Bowl, all that kind of stuff. But let's see it happen first, right? The game in Tennessee is going to tell us a lot of things because Tennessee is no slouch this year. So if we can go on the road, the first game of the year, by the way, we have 3 of the first 4 games are on the road. The NFL was not nice to the Raiders with their schedule. If we can go on the road those first 3 or 4 games and maybe come out 4-0, 3-1, even 2-2, I'd be happy. But if we go 1-3 or something like that, or heaven forbid 0-4, they're doomed, man. They're doomed. So I like the hype, but I'm scared for the hype.
Hey, listen, I'm getting nervous about this week 1 game. I've been nervous about the Raiders playing the Titans in a long time. Like the last time I got nervous about the Raiders playing the Titans, it was like when Steve McNair was still around. Like it's been a long time. And as right now, watching this team, of course, and I live in the middle of all the hype, so I'm getting it all over the place on the news and sports talk and all that. But have you watched their preseason game and what they did to the Carolina defense?
They looked good.
They freaking looked good, man. Derrick Henry looked like he was wearing freaking number 9 and playing in Alabama. Or number 2, I should say. Not number 9, that was Cooper. Or number 2 and playing in Alabama. I mean, Derrick Henry looked like a stud, and their offensive line looks like studs, and Mariota looks like a stud. And you know what I mean? And they got some linebackers on that defense. Now, granted, they have a lot of holes, too, in their secondary, and I think that Derek Carr is going to throw – if he's going to have a 500-yard game, that one in Tennessee just might be the one where it starts. So I don't by any means think the Raiders aren't capable of winning that game, but let me tell you this, man, their offense is going to be a handful as well, and the way our defense looks right now, we're not stopping Derrick Henry, let alone DeMarco Murray. You know what I mean? We're going to be in, and then Delaney Walker, it could get ugly for
Okay.
I'm just saying it's going to be. No, I'm saying you're right. We could start off 0-1, and then all of a sudden these Vegas bets go to pot. It's like, come on now, you're right because we got a tough schedule, and that's what I'm saying. I'm nervous. I have not been nervous about this game for the past 2 years.
In the words of Third Eye Blind, step back from that ledge, my friend.
You're listening to The Violator, and I'm live on Raiders Fan Radio. Where you at, baby?
Murf, earlier in the week, Mike Tice and John Pagano had a press conference, shared some insight about the team. Why don't you go ahead and lead us off on this one?
Yeah, just a couple of quick little notes on that. As I know we're running short on time for today, but I thought, it was cool to hear John Pagano, brother of Chuck Pagano, get up there and talk a little bit. And, he's a sharp guy. And I've been aware of his career and kind of aware of his role with the Raiders and all that, but I hadn't watched any of his pressers yet until this one. And he's a sharp guy and he's very sure of himself. And you get the idea that has and is gaining a lot more control than what his title is. And I think that, man, I wish Ken Norton Jr. the best, and I've really wanted him to work out. You would never wish your coaches to not work out, right? Like everybody that ever comes through the front office or the coaching staff, or heck, the players for that matter, you never wish them to not be successful. So I want those guys to be successful, but when you develop a certain track record again of not only questionable play, but now regression, somebody else has got to maybe step in. I think that guy, obviously, the writing on the wall is that it's John Pagano. And, something that if you think about it, he really makes the third defensive coordinator for the team. Obviously Ken Norton Jr. has it by title, but don't forget that's what Jack did. And Jack did it very, very well. And then now you got Pagano, who's also a defensive coordinator himself. So he's really rounds out and makes the third of that. And so I think he's ready and waiting to take over more and more control as we go. One of the things that I thought was interesting, one of his quotes were about the rookies in the secondary. And if we are going to take any solace in the potential performance of the rookies when they do get out there, and I'm talking about Obi and Conley, They don't have to, he said they don't have to relearn the language. You know, that a lot of times when you bring in veteran guys, they kind of have their own, you know, knowledge of schemes and their own terminology and their own, you know, verbiage and all that kind of stuff, where he said the rookies aren't like that. The rookies come in, you know, and they don't have any, you know, set way of doing things. So, you know, it's like the old saying goes, you know, if you want a good apple, don't pick one up off the ground, pick one off the tree, you know. So they're coming in fresh. They don't know any different. They only are going to know what John Pagano teaches them. So I think their learning curve might get shortened. And based on how our secondary has played to this point, we desperately need it. So I thought that was pretty good. Then the last part, one of the notes I made about Mike Tice, again, same thing, right? Guy's a former head coach, highly qualified, probably overqualified to be an offensive line coach, the best in the league, no doubt. And he talked about the left tackle situation very directly, I think probably in a way to send a message to Penn. You touched on it earlier in the show, and that was, he said, as of right now, Marshall Newhouse is our left tackle, Vidal Alexander is our right tackle, and David Sharp is going to swing back and forth, and that's the plan. So pretty good stuff from the two coaches.
I like that, Tice. It's also mentioned in the article on Just Blog Baby. He said basically he's playing as if Donald Penn's hurt. He's saying he has to get ready to go out and beat Tennessee, and he's not sitting there, you know, okay, guys, we'll just wait until Donald will get back and that'll fix everything. He's saying Donald's not here. We got to have somebody else step up as if Donald's not here. And I think that's the best way to handle it. And I like that approach from Mike Tice. One of the things I question about the Raiders now is, you know, in college football, it's always stated, and really in the NFL too, if you have two quarterbacks, you have none, right? You can't go back and forth. If we have three defensive coordinators, we have none. And maybe that's the issue. You know, maybe behind the scenes, Jack is micromanaging Norton too much and not let him do his job. And now you got Pagano in here. I mean, think about how stressed Norton is by just them bringing on John Pagano, right? Like, that's already going to add some natural stress to his job and his role. He's going to be looking over his shoulder saying, well, what's the plan with this guy and stuff, you know? So, again, I don't want to harp on it too much, but there just continues to be issues, I think, even in the front office as well, on the coaching staff and on the players, you know, like what the heck is going on with the defense? And hopefully it's fixed by week 1, but could be a long plane ride home, Murf.
You're listening to Raiders Fan Radio with Sonny and Murf, a podcast by Raiders fans for Raiders fans.
We've reached our favorite segment of the night, or the morning, or the afternoon, depending on when you listen to this show. It's called Murf's Black Hole of the Internet. Murf, take it away.
Sonny, I got a quick question before you pass it all the way off to me. Are you ready?
7.
Oh my gosh, you're almost there.
Okay.
Okay, give me another number. I'll bet you'll get it.
8.
Oh, well, that's one of them. My question is this. What is the most prolific number to be worn by quarterbacks in the NFL?
12.
There you go. And that leads us to
Murf's Black Hole of the Internet.
A journey that begins where everything ends.
So last night I'm watching highlights from around the league at 3:49 in the morning or whatever the heck it was before I could finally wind down and go to sleep after the gallon of coffee I drank so I could stay up long enough to watch the Raiders broadcast at midnight. Thanks, NFL Network. And as I'm watching the around the league highlights, they show the Raiders highlights. And our beloved quarterback, Derek Carr, who wears what number, Sonny?
4.
Then they go to Dallas, and they show Dak Prescott, young, up-and-coming quarterback, second year in the league, looks to be pretty darn good, throwing some nice passes. Sonny, what number does he wear?
4.
Right. Then they go to Houston, and they show young man, rookie Deshaun Watson checking in for the first time as quarterback of the Houston Texans. At what number does Deshaun Watson wear?
I'm not sure, but based on previous answers, I'm going with 4.
That's correct. So 4, and I don't know if this is the Brett Favre influence or what. I know it is in Derek Carr's case, but as far as the other two guys, I'm not sure if that's what influenced them. Dak Prescott's a Mississippi guy, so maybe, anyways, one way or the other, I'm like, man, these are 3 really good young quarterbacks, and they all wear the number 4. I'm like, is 4 the next hot number? Because for us growing up, it was always what?
It was 12, yeah.
12, right? So I'm like, interesting. So I'm going to go and I'm going to look up and see what numbers are most represented in the Hall of Fame. And it's not hard to figure out that 12 was it. And the reason why is that when you look at the back in the day, in the late 60s and mainly the 70s, when you look at the quarterbacks that wore number 12, and this is all Raider related too, stick with me. You look at the quarterbacks that wore number 12 that are in the Hall of Fame. You have Terry Bradshaw, Bob Greasy, Joe Namath, Kenny Stabler, and Roger Staubach, right? So you have 5 Hall of Famers that played in the 70s that all wore the number 12. All of those guys played at the same time. They're all peers of one another, all wearing that same number 12, which, again, we always kind of knew, but I thought that was pretty amazing. Then you fast forward a handful of years and you get to Jim Kelly. Jim Kelly also wore number 12 and is in the Hall of Fame. And then if you go even further to present day, we got 2 guys that are going to be in the Hall of Fame when they retire, and they wear number 12. Sonny, do you know who they are off the top of your head?
Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers.
There you go. So you got 2 more guys, and then we'll see what happens to him. He's hurt now, but he shows flashes of brilliance, and that's Andrew Luck, also wears number 12. So
I would have guessed that one right too.
Okay, so by far, the number 12 is the most prolific number when it comes to quarterbacks. So I thought, okay, let's just say, look, we know Derek Carr is going to be a Hall of Famer, right? Let's just assume that Dak Prescott and Deshaun Watson, that they're going to be prolific players in their era, and that maybe they go on to become Hall of Famers. What if we were in an era where we had 3 quarterbacks that all wore the same number? Do you know, Sonny, that still would not even come close to the amount of, or that it would not come close, obviously, to matching the era of the 70s, but it would be the second one, because there's only been 2 others that I could find where you had contemporaries wearing the same number that are in the Hall of Fame. One is that you have Troy Aikman and Steve Young, both wore the number 8. You had George Blanda and Lenny Dawson. George Blanda, our Raider. Len Dawson from the Chiefs, both wore the number 16. Marino and Kurt Warner kind of passing ships in the night, but they traded a little bit of paint in 98 and 99. They both wore the number 13 and are in the Hall of Fame. But that's it. So you have contemporaries of 2s, and then you have in 12, you have all these guys. So say that these 3 young men go on to do something great, then it could be the number 4, because, and then the last part of it is that the only other prolific passers that I could find currently in the National Football League that share numbers is that you have number 8, you have Kirk Cousins and Marcus Mariota, who are still kind of unproven guys, but pretty solid quarterbacks so far in their young careers. And then number 3, you got Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. So still talking about pairings, you're not talking about 3 guys, but I thought that was a pretty interesting pattern. They're not even a pattern, but a pretty interesting representation of the numbers that are in the Hall of Fame. And no doubt, number 12 is by far number 1, and hopefully to join Brett Favre and his number 4 in the Hall of Fame, Mr. Derek Carr will be there one day as well.
Nice job. Nice research. I wonder how 12 became the number to be. Like, you ever wonder, how it got to be wide receivers wore 80s, linebackers wore 50s, running backs wore 20s, quarterbacks wore teens, linemen wore 70s. Where did all that take place and stuff like that? How did all that come to fruition? That'd be kind of a fun research project to find out who designated the numbers and all that kind of stuff.
I'll probably have that for you next week. I mean, I know why. I know the general rule of thumb as far as why they ended up the way that they did as far as identifying positions and all that. And it's an NFL exclusive thing, because if you look at obviously college and lower levels in high school and whatnot, there is no you can have guys with single digits playing, linebackers or, on the defensive line or whatever else. You have kickers wearing 99, whatever the case may be. But as far as who determined it and when they did it and all that, that I don't know. And maybe we'll put that on the list for Murph's Internet Black Hole for next week.
There you go. All right, Murph, I think that brings us to the end of the show. Again, I'd like to thank Ted Nguyen from RaidersAnalysis.com stopping by and giving us some wisdom and helping us to step back from the ledge, even though he might have pushed a little bit to we'll see what happens there. Always a fun time to talk to Ted. If you don't follow him, give him a follow on Twitter at RaidersAnalysis.com. He's only going to go up from where he is now. Sharp guy, and does his homework in regards to the X's and O's. Again, visit thetailgatetn.com. Go there to their website. If you're going to the Tennessee game, looking for a tailgate, $30, all you can eat, Famous Dave's barbecue, and all you can drink as well. And we'll be there as well. Facebook, the Tailgate TN, and their Facebook page. You can see all the information as well, what's going on there. And Murph, anything else before we go?
That's it, man. I'm stoked. I'm excited that our plans are coming together for week 1. It is going to be a great time in Tennessee. The weather is going to be beautiful, and hopefully our Oakland Raiders come out with a 1-0 record.
Hope so. Again, we're Raiders Fan Radio, RaidersFanRadio.com, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. Just type in Raiders Fan Radio. You can find us on any podcast directory that you listen to. And until we talk to you again, it's Raider Nation, wherever, forever.
Two bald-headed idiots talking to you guys, keeping their foreheads slick and sexy.